back on Boond Soch ttalk, Train of Thought, with a series of an episode with Mr. Virendra Gupte, exclusively on ttalk Boond Soch. He's a consultant, corporate trainer, and the company director. For 37 years, he has been there with Tata International Limited. And during his induction program and being as a management trainee, it's an excellent insight what we got from Mr. Virendra. Sir, now in fact, this journey of 37 years, we are capturing each and every aspects of that of your learning, so target audience can do meaningful learning. Can you share further as far as your management training experience which is concerned?
Sure, doctor. In fact, what I mentioned about baptism by fire, so that has not ended there. So one part of was that the learning was that why it is important to be meticulous in terms of notes making, etc. And of course, today, fortunately, we are in that era where you got gadgets where you put your bullet points and so on. But noting in diary, for example, gives you that perspective to think, reflect, more what to refer. Because over a period of time, you may have certain meetings, follow-ups, etc. and so on. The second very interesting situation was when I was reporting to my boss, who in my entire career has been my mentor and who shaped me what I am today, is largely because of him. And he was, a perfectionist. And I remember he had asked me to draft a letter. So it was like manually drafted. And then I went to him because as a very senior executive of the company, and then thereafter became the executive director. He was hard pressed for time, and therefore it was not easy to meet. And then in the meantime, he said that, have you finished your draft? So I just went and showed it to him. And I took pride in saying that, I can write well, the halo of the school era. And then I wrote, and then he looked at, very quickly, and then he just threw it. So I was taken aback. He said, what is this what you have drafted? And then he asked me a very serious question. And he said, have you heard of Wren and Martin? I said, yes, sir. It's a Bible of grammar and composition, and which we, as every student in school, we study Wren and Martin as a book for basic grammar. And he said, do you have that book with you? So I said, yes, it is at my home. So why don't you just, pull it from where you have put it, dust it, and reread your grammar. And so that you will be able to improve. Then you will know where the O has to be put in and the N has to be, and look at your adjectives and adverbs, and which we had studied in school, obviously, and we promptly forgot.
Forgotten that.
So therefore, and then I realized why it is very important. It's not only about articulation skills in terms of how you speak. Later on, we speak about business etiquettes and the do's and don'ts, the soft skills part. And especially in a company where I spent my life with Tata International, is a global organization in terms of a global footprint, whether in terms of exports, imports, third country trade, having physical presence in terms of offices, subsidiary companies, joint ventures, was actively involved in those processes. And then of course the cultural issue, because you may speak good English, but your counterparts, your customer, suppliers, or other stakeholders may not be speaking English. And therefore the learning was that Wren and Martin revision in a way was an eye-opener. And he said that, look, in your early part of your career, you will be a potential manager going forward. It is very important that your written language, what you write, because this is not writing essays as it was in school and college. Now you're in a corporate environment, and therefore business communication and written word matters. And especially because we at Tata's, we have our own value systems, the way we communicate and so on. And therefore, you have to be very particular. In other words, you cannot commit a faux pas in terms of how you communicate. Sending letters within the company and then later on to the external audience or, recipients. And therefore, it is very important that how you write, your tone, the tenor, etc. and so on. And that was a huge eye-opener for me in that sense. So that's... that again, reminds you that whenever you are interacting within the company, within the group, within the country, outside, etc., what are the do's and don'ts? In terms of, because your written word, when you say something verbally, you can backtrack, apologize, etc.
Correct.
But when you write something which may not be palatable to the other party,
Correct.
it's very difficult, and it causes embarrassment not only to you as a professional, but at the end of the day, you represent the organization. Like my boss always said, that the time he sort of, encouraged me to interact with the external world. And he said that, remember, you don't carry only a business card of the company. You're the brand ambassador of the organization.
Correct.
And I think that got strongly embedded in me. That when you interact, and I had a lot of role to play in terms of interacting with regulatory authorities in our country, in terms of approvals, etc. Whether state level, the center, etc. And therefore, the manner in which you speak and conduct yourself, and the manner in which you write, etc. And then the other important learning which...
So here the two important great learning for ttalk audience, like it all, whenever you're part of an internship within an organization, like your boss, first boss said, like you should have a diary, like so it's so handy, you can jot on the points which will register you. That's the best practices which are there. And secondly, again, in this case, the communication part which I'm concerned, like because being a part of a reputed organization, if you communicate with the target audience, the communication plays a very crucial role. I think in today's scenario also, many of the MBA students who are there, like normally we do a soft skill training at that particular level, but I'm sure like if you make that as a habit at the initial stage, your base fundamental becomes very strong. So it was a really interesting insights of your best practices which I've learned while being on the job with Tata's. What was another learning?
Yeah, now that's the most critical part of the story, which I think is something which I'm sure all of us try to practice. And that is, as a part of your baptism by fire, especially in your early days of your career. And that is to have hands-on exposure and experience. Couple of things that sort of encourages you or rather propels you to handle, and one of them is that you need to have practical experience. In other words, you cannot be an ivory tower manager. Okay, you cannot be taking decisions based on some inputs coming from your colleagues, peers, or subordinates, or based on, of course, data. Evidence-based decision making is very critical in life. In the world in which we operate. But more importantly is the personal exposure you get. And that takes me back to my induction. In the very first year of my induction program, I was spending about a few months in the leather business vertical of our company. Now, to give you a perspective, in those days, Tata International, we were a manufacturing exporting company as well as a trading exporting company. So merchant trader, merchant export. And we had the largest state-of-the-art manufacturing operation in India, maybe the largest leather tannery in Asia, located in a place called Devas, 30 kilometers from Indore in Madhya Pradesh. And in those days, I'm talking of the late 70s, early 80s, where it was a backward area, and the government of Madhya Pradesh had given certain incentives to the company to set up that. And true to our pioneers and leaders of the group, they say that if you want to get into that business, it should be a world-class enterprise, and it should be like a benchmark organization. And therefore, we had leather manufacturing operations located in Devas. Later on, we expanded our footprint not only in India but in other parts of the world as well. So therefore, the leather manufactured in the complex, they used to come by trucks to Mumbai. And we had a cargo consolidator, clearing and forwarding agent in Ballard Estate area of South Mumbai. And from there, the entire paperwork, the pre-shipment documentation, post-shipment, etc. used to be done. And the cargo had to be compulsorily subjected to custom examination. So that part of my induction was where my superiors, my supervisors in that department, they told me, look, this particular afternoon at 2 o'clock, as you finish your lunch, you will take a cab and go to our clearing and forwarding agent office, and there you will be responsible for loading the entire consignment which is supposed to be shipped. And I recall, finished leather consignment to be shipped to, in those days, to our customers in Germany. And if I did not mistaken, the unification of Germany had not happened. So there were some shipments going to East Germany.
Correct.
And then some shipments were to the erstwhile Yugoslavia. Some shipments were to UK, I guess, Spain, etc. and so on. So, and I was, taken aback because they said that you will be responsible for this. You will load the cargo in the truck and you will accompany the truck to the air cargo complex at Sahar, next Sahar International Airport.
Correct.
So I said, do I have somebody along with me? Do I have some helper, etc.? Because it entailed that shipment had to be unloaded before the custom officer, etc. And my supervisor told me, my superior, he said that no, you'll have to handle everything on your own. And you just see and then take the advice of the clearing and forwarding agent representatives and so on. So by the time I went there, the truck was already there, the loading was happening. And then as I was about to leave, I thought that I'll follow the truck in a taxi or something. So the guy said, no, you'll have to sit with the driver and take the truck to the airport. Right? And then he said that you take this toolkit with you. So he gave me a small bag which contained some pliers and some cutters because they were metal strapped, leather cartons.
Correct.
And that custom officer will randomly say, please open up this carton number 4.
Correct.
So you have to cut it and there are not going to be any helpers for you.
Correct.
Right? And that itself was like a shock for me. Right? Cultural shock.
Correct.
That you are sitting next to the driver of the truck, right? And then secondly, you have got this toolkit with you.
Correct.
And then of course, went there and then the custom examination happened. The custom officer looked at the documents and he said, okay, from this packing list and invoice, please open up this carton. So I had to, cut that and so on. And then they helped in the strapping part later, etc. But that itself was a very important learning. Thereafter, not only the truck part and the air consignment part, also the sea shipments. So go to the Indira docks, for example, and look at the imports of raw material coming, like raw hides or some leather consignment, etc. And I think that has been a major learning experience. What I see now when I reflect back in my long career is you have to be hands-on, number one.
Correct.
You need to be understanding the nitty-gritties of what is happening in your entire value chain of business.
Correct.
It's beyond your not KRA responsibility. And as we say, is it not that the devil lies in the details?
Good.
So therefore the fine print of, and especially when we speak of international trade, international business, it is highly documentation related. Right from your contracts, purchase contract, sales contract, to a pre-shipment, post-shipment documentation. There may be commercial documents, financial documents, regulatory documents. You need to be a master in terms of understanding procedures and in terms of banking, letters of credit, for example, or shipping documents. You name, there are umpteen paperwork involved. And also the biggest obstacle is a language barrier. You may be shipping a consignment to a customer in some part of the world who does not speak English at all. So therefore you have the English version, the local translated version and so on. And therefore, in my early career, one of the things that I learned is you need to sweat. You need to, fold your sleeves, roll up your sleeves and work, soil your hands. You have to be in the place where the action is.
Great. I think if the students, MBA students and the practitioners who are listening to Mr. Virendra, who has been there in Tata International for 27 years at the initial stage of her career, being a management trainee, I think, as rightly said, the devil lies in the details. So each and every minute thing, each and every process, and in the value chain, you need to be part of that. And I think if you can get through that particular tough time, I'm sure it becomes more easier for you to navigate in the nearer future. Sir, it's a great insight for the students who are watching you and would like to be part of a management internship or management training or making their own career. All these 3 lessons are going to help them out. One is they have to carry their diary and they have to jot down the point. And secondly, in terms of the communication aspects which are concerned, that becomes very crucial. And third, again, in terms of as far as the devil lies in the detail, that's very important. So thanks a lot for valuable insight for target audience. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So do catch up with Mr. Virendra in our next episode on ttalk ek Boond Soch ki. Till then, go to www.ttalk.net, subscribe and like the channel as much as you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot. Thank you very much.